No! I was so happy. I was so happy to be done with the hunt for a while. I used to love the hunt, but then Hasbro began to suck like never before at distribution, and scalpers decided that toys were the hot new market since no one was going to concerts anymore, so it became impossible to find anything anywhere. I was so sick of spending 10 times more on gas than I was figures because I was driving to every store within 50 miles 3 times a week and not finding anything. And here we are, Kingdom Wave 3 is out only a couple weeks after I finally found everything from Wave 2. I suppose the good news is I immediately at least found something from it to review for you guys. And more good news is that while my initial predictions that the Kingdom show was going to miss the Kingdom toy line were kind of technically wrong, they were also kind of right because the show is only catching the final wave of the line. So hey, at least I wasn't proven completely wrong. Probably should have done this before I started whinging up a storm, but let me wish Nick Bricks a happy birthday. Congratulations on surviving another year. I see I'm going to have to try harder next year to change that. But yeah, happy birthday, dude. I hope this video makes your day an even better one. Also, if this video does better than the last two, I think I will have a definitive answer on whether or not you guys prefer Chug Stuff, because the last two seriously underperformed by my standards. Don't get me wrong though, they underperformed by my standards because you guys set those standards so high. I am beyond blessed to be able to sit here and say that 2,000 views on the first day is low by my standards thanks to you guys. But let's stop padding the video. It's Kingdom Legends Soundwave. Thank God I found this when I did. The road was jacked up with traffic, the sun was hot, and my air conditioner is broke. So even though I went out to join the hunt once more, I was already done with it within 5 minutes of being on the road and had decided on going home after the first store regardless of whether or not I actually found something. And then there was this little guy on a shelf. At the risk of sounding like a total hipster, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This looks a lot better to my eye than the Netflix Soundwave. The Netflix Soundwave, as much as people want to praise it, always left me with real issues in the look. Much like the ER Prime, it's got odd proportions, with his chest being too wide, which only looks worse from behind where it turns into a massive overlong slab. He's got this giant piece of faux-forming kibble strapped to his ass. His forearms have all this crap hanging off of them, which are the vestiges of the previous version of the mold, and hilariously enough, the head is actually painted better on the Legends one. And even funnier, neither one extends the silver to the sides of the heads, as is supposed to be the case, only coating the faceplate and ear vents. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not allowed to talk about the head yet. That's not how my format works. It's against the law, or the rules, or the holy text of Skywarp. Praise be upon his name, for we are all him. If you don't get that reference, then you never watched the only livestream video premiere I ever did. So this guy is small, yeah, but the proportions are way better than the Netflix figure. With the slightly narrower chest that's still wide like he shoved an entire microwave into it, but not so wide it becomes egregiously disproportionate to the rest of his body. And the back looks even better, with a much heftier hump than the Netflix's anemic hunchback. It makes him look like he has an actual backpack rather than just some kind of disturbing growth. I don't even care that from this angle, his head, wrists, and the backs of his ankles are all hollow. Honestly, these gaps are a small price to pay for the removal of all the kibble on the figure. The arms look so much better here with their slimmer profile now, but what I like even more is the loss of all the random crap all over the legs. These thin little bracket pieces hanging off the backs of his knees probably bother me more than anyone else on the planet, but they just seem so unprofessional. Like this is what a cheap knockoff does, not what the official product is like. I also really hated these things that are clearly just glued onto the outsides of his shins, and am glad to see those gone. Man, this is turning more into a second review of the Netflix figure than one about the Kingdom figure I'm supposed to be covering. But all that is to say that I think this looks like a phenomenal little version of the character, and much better than the Netflix version. I also really enjoy this one's much cleaner sculpting. I like the Siege Surface Greeble, but there is no denying that there is something really pleasing about a less busy skin. The worst things I have to say about this figure are in the joints. The gaps in the knees are a little distracting, and the huge ball joint cutouts in the elbows are ugly as all get out. But that is really the worst of it when looking at this figure from most angles. Outside that, the little love handle pegs sticking off his torso are mildly unsightly. I feel like they should have been inverted with the pegs coming off of the shins and the ports being set into the sides rather than the way that it is. One thing that really impresses me about this little guy is the crisp and accurate paint job that even extends to his gun and a bit to his rocket launcher. So this guy is more proportionally accurate than the Netflix version. He's got almost no kibble, unlike the Netflix version, who was pretty awash in it. His surface detailing is more in line with the G1 show than the Netflix is, which had an uneven level of sculpting due to the shared parts with the Siege version, and while he has less paint, I'd say it's more consistent and better applied than his bigger counterpart. And this extends into the head that I was talking about earlier. While there is no denying that the level of sculpting is much lower here, as a smaller head is harder to work on, the paint does reach the edges of his faceplate, unlike the others, but as I said earlier, it doesn't wrap around his head like it's supposed to, and it's also kind of reaching up into his visor a bit. Something about this just captures the character so much better to my eye. This guy actually comes with more accessories than most other figures, and they are of a higher quality than I've come to expect with mainline Transformers toys, though they are a good bit smaller here than normal, so that does at least account for some of it. The accessories he comes with are his shoulder cannon, which did get at least a little red on the, I don't know, tiny rockets, as well as his normal blaster, which is much better painted, getting its full red stripe, as well as its barrel painted silver. Though I think it was kind of molded wrong, as the handle seems to kind of be on the side of where it normally goes. These side pieces around the barrel are usually vertical. One thing I like about these is the grip on them is the way they peg into the shoulder, which of note on my launcher was very hard to get to peg in for the first time. Anyways, what that means is that you can swap what he's using for the gun in the shoulder cannon. Set it up like this and Soundwave has a focused shoulder laser and a pepperbox revolver. You can also open up his little chest door and pop out a really satisfying little tape cassette laserbeak. No joke, the fit between the two is so snug but smooth, it really pleases my OCD, and I find myself popping it in and out like mad just for the hell of it all the time. This is also very nicely painted, though it doesn't have any other way to integrate with the figure and it obviously can't transform. I know we are already doing better than we typically expect on accessories, but a little fully transformed laserbeak to go with this would have been awesome. That way you could have Soundwave ejecting tape laserbeak and have bird laserbeak flying away. Posability on this is flawed, but in general better than average for even a larger figure. Head can basically only swivel. The side to side is too limited to count and there is no tilt down. But you have a nearly unlimited backwards tilt. Shoulders can never get out straight, but you can cheat them to get more upwards range even though there is a pretty wide degree of motion you are missing. Shoulders also have a backwards butterfly joint. Hands do tilt forward, so if you have a tiny sword, then he can use that more effectively than most figures. No waist, so that's a bummer. Legs can go all the way forward, which is really ugly because of the skirt section being one large piece, and they can't kick back at all because for some reason this part that didn't need to exist was put there. Knees only bend a disappointing 90 in both directions, but it does have ball-jointed feet that have rotation and tilt down, but no side to side or tilt up. Though, because of the way the knees work, you can actually cheat it super hard by flipping one or both of his legs backwards and fake one of the best tilts up, if not the best tilt up I've ever seen, allowing you to put Soundwave into some really deep stances no other figure can manage. The ball joint in his elbows is kind of lame. It loves popping out all the time, but it does let you get some weird broken arm movements out of it if you want those. It only lets you get a 90-degree bend though, but it's okay because you can still do the most important sound with...
0 out of 10. 0 out of 10! Sometimes you run around in this game and what do you do? This! No, what is this, you may ask yourself? Classic case of 0 out of 10. It has really good this!
Transformation on this guy is short and sweet. It does basically exactly what you expect it to, with no twists whatsoever, though you do need to make sure that you rotate the head around because not only does the finished product look silly with Soundwave's head peering out of the top of it, but believe me when I say that it's way harder to get the head back out if it's facing this way. And you get this adorable little cassette tape recorder, who's honestly only barely bigger than one of the full-size tapes off the Earthrise Soundwave. And yeah, let's just call it what it was, the Earthrise version. Yet more evidence that Earthrise was a limp toy line. And I need to clear up a bit of a misconception several of you guys seem to have. Because back when I did my video covering the reveal of this thing, a bunch of you responded to me saying that the one in the pictures was actually transformed wrong, and then linking me to a video showing off this figure on a turntable where it was in this configuration. Unfortunately, no. This is the configuration that is mistransformed. It is supposed to have the cat ears. As you can see, the feet are meant to slot in here. They even have detailing mimicking the sides of the alt mode. Though you are absolutely within your rights to leave the feet up like this if you prefer. But I will say that mine won't sit straight like this. They just refuse to be anything but crooked. Now, if you ask me, I think they could have improved this by including a toe hinge here that would let the front of the foot fold up. That way we get the best of all worlds. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's something an upgrade kit company is currently working on. And once again, I significantly prefer this to the Netflix version. The transformation getting into this mode was faster, more fun, and less frustrating, with no faux forming while being significantly more satisfying, and despite the cat ears, this is more cohesive as far as I'm concerned. The gap at the bottom of the chest, though present on both, has been minimized here, and it suffers less from having fewer weird protruding surfaces than the Netflix fig. I especially don't like the side humps that should have just been flipped around. Like seriously, they have these fake protrusions on the backs of the knees rather than just using the real ones to make it work better. And everything from here down I think looks terrible, but that's not the case with the Little Kingdom guy. He doesn't look perfect, but he's much more tolerable. From the top and the back, they almost look identical, but once again, the Kingdom is cleaner from these directions, and he has the solid benefit of being much more stable in this mode. He doesn't wobble around like the Netflix one does. Neither is going to topple over, but this one sure feels like it will. So yeah, not just in comparison with the Netflix one, but on its own, this is a really good figure. It makes a fantastic desk toy. I've hardly been able to stop myself from fidgeting with it since I got it. And it's a solid representation of the character. Basically, everything it does well, even with the alt mode bunny ears and the posability being only slightly less than home runs. And I sincerely prefer this to its bigger brother. It's just an uncomplicated kind of enjoyable, while the other one is something I'd very much hesitate to recommend. I legitimately believe this is better than the Netflix version. At the very least, I like it in all ways more. You could blow this guy up bigger, give him a small smattering of new parts, improve the joints, and I don't think it would even be a contest between the two. I don't know why that figure was so overcomplicating things and leaving in crap like the wrist kibble. I didn't mean for half of this video to be me shitting on the Netflix version, but that's a figure that started low in my books and never found a way to elevate itself. This, on the other hand, like the other Kingdom Legends figures I've covered, I feel comfortable of not only just saying that it's good, but putting my stamp of recommended on. Also, I refuse to buy Dracodon. That has got to be the cheapest BS excuse for a redeco I've seen in a very long time. Probably at least 20 years. Boy, I had a lot to say about a single Legends figure. And that's not half of what I have to say, but it's enough of what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.